Alright, I'm back with tablet 4. Kudash, 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 Adonai, Elohim, Sabayah, meaning holy, 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 Lord of hosts, because we are hosts. Yah, He, Va, He, which is masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine. As a collective whole, creating the Tetragrammaton. We go into the Kabbalah Unveil. It gives you the breakdown on the masculine, feminine energy and how it corresponds as a collective whole, creating the Tetragrammaton. In the beginning, Genesis, meaning the generations of Isis. In the Hebrew, it's Bereshith. In the beginning, Elohim said, "Let us create them in our image." In the Holy Tablets, it says Elohim with an A. And as above, so below, the macro prosophis above and the micro prosophis below, which we are the microorganisms, the hosts of the Elohim's creation. Salah. Alright, we're going to jump right into it. This is tablet 4, titled The War in the Skies. It's a lot of meat and bones in this. You just got to bear with me. And, you got to really have an open mind and know how to follow the consistencies and patterns, so the spirit of discernment will be on you heavy, and you'll be able to decipher anything. It don't matter what book you read out of, you'll be able to connect the dots. Especially the elect in these days. It's already in their DNA. The junk DNA is being removed, and the activated DNA is being unlocked through the elements of nature, solar flares in the sun, the times we're in, which is also causing, chaos and so many other events in this great, in the Bible will call it a great tribulation period, and seven winds, seven churches, seven angels, seven vials of indignation, which talks about the judgment, and the Holy Tablets is called the Seven Thunders. It will give you, which I did a video on that the other day that broke down more in-depth details of, what's really happening with the global warming, these massive floods, these tornadoes, it's all part of the big puzzle and what source is putting into motion. You just got to have your eyes open and know what you're looking at and looking for, because the Bible is written in figurative language, allegories, and metaphors. So everything is not written direct in there, so that gives people time to debate on things or say it's this and that, but you always let things answer themselves. So find the consistencies and patterns, and you just keep reading, study till you show yourself approved. All right, tablet 4, War in the Skies. The first conflict was in the skies of Ilium, the 19th galaxy. Let's hold that right there, the 19th galaxy. Most, if you watch Billy Carson's and the Muslim brother 19 Keys video they recently did earlier in the year, he talks about how the star constellations are built on 19-degree angles. Remember, 9 is completion of a cycle. So the first conflict was in the skies of the Ilium, the 19th galaxy, also called the Great Galaxy, known as the place on high where the etheric records called the Akasha are kept. The first conflict was when Tarnish, also known as Humbaba, son of Tagahat, and Sin tried to turn over Ilium. Balas wanted to rule all the stars and the Anunnaki of the skies. So there's Anunnakis above and there's Anunnakis below, because the bloodline is still here. The royal and the righteous bloodline is still here. That's why I always talk about DNA being unlocked and activation, because these is dormant things hidden within our temples, our host temples, Tarnish was second in command under Marduk, son of Enki and Damkina. Tarnish felt that Marduk was not qualified for leading the fleets of his grandfather Anu. We know what Anu means, the Most High. During this time, the planet Titan, which is considered a moon of the planet Saturn, was a home base of Humbaba, who was called Cronus. and Saturn, husband of Ops, companion of the fire goddess Lua, father of Picus. His reigning period was called Saturnalia, and to this day it's celebrated between December 17th and December 25th. Those under Cronus were claiming Anshar, foremost of heavens, which is today called Saturn. Saturn, Saturday, Sabbath. Oh, it all makes sense if you put two and two together. Which was the astrological sign of Anshar, father of Anu, as their home base. And these holy tablets are more the esoteric version of the exoteric physical version in your Bible. So this is how you connect the dots. The ringed planet named Saturn rotates very quickly. It takes 10 hours and 40 minutes for it to turn once on its axis. Saturn bulges even more as its equator than Jupiter. Saturn has a very deep atmosphere which is made up of mainly of hydrogen and helium with some methane and ammonia at the top of its atmosphere. The temperature is about 300 degrees Fahrenheit. This low temperature causes ammonia in the outer atmosphere to freeze, forming high altitude haze. More and more space probes from NASA, you know what they say NASA means, deception, but this is what this says. More and more space probes from NASA are being sent into space due to the curiosity of mankind. They are trying to rediscover what took place long ago in the heavens. You know, normally something is deception. They're not going to tell you right out, so they'll give you another, basically, cover story for what's really actually going on, you know? They'll tell you how many planets is out there, the cycle, this, and that. But with recently on the Newsbreak feed I just was reading yesterday, they're talking about about hydrogen and gases creating structures throughout the cosmos, you know. But I'm pretty sure that's just Most High's way of talking to me. You know, he shows me current events, you know, multiple different stories along the book, and once I sit down and meditate on it and channel it, you know, it all starts making sense of what's really currently actually happening. It says space probes to Saturn are being sent to various planets and moons, such as the Cassini that was sent in 1997 AD, AD meaning after death, filled with 72 pounds of highly radioactive plutonium, the probe being named after Giovanni Domenico Cassini, an Italian-born French astronomer. The planet Titan was the home base of the disagreeable Anunnaki, which were divided into 12 continents. The Greeks named them 1. Oceanus, 2. Creus, 3. Cous, 4. Iatus, 5. Cronus, 6. Hyperion, 7. Rhea, 8. Mnemosyne, 9. Thea, which is Theia, 10. Themis, 11. Tethys, 12. Phobos, which you know, you ever hear them talk about a space, Phobos. They name these things after stuff they already know exists. So the disagreeable Anunnakis made Titan an alternative when they were cast out, and the capital was Phobo, from whence you get the word phobia, a irrational fear of a specific thing or situation to avoid or dislike or aversion. The space satellite Phobos, I'm just saying it, Phobos of Mars was also named after the 12th continent Phobae of Titan. This is the mystical 12 tribes of Israel and the 12 tribes of Ishmael. Believe it or not, Abraham's first son, Ishmael, by the Egyptian maidservant Hagar, also had 12 sons just like Isaac did. It gets deep, deep, and deep because, believe it or not, you think these are two set groups, but they all come from the Muwapian order. So, you see how they divided things up, and they never tell you about the story of 12 sons of Ishmael. You might find more about that in Islam than you will in Christianity, the biblical side, you know. But I don't divide the books. I call all of them Kodesh scriptures, meaning holy scriptures. Ruach HaKodesh, Holy Spirit scriptures. Because Holy Spirits came upon men and they all collected this data in some way. And you seek, you will find, and be able to connect the dots. Phobos, from whence you get the word phobia, an irrational fear of a specific thing or situation to avoid or dislike or aversion. The space satellite Phobos of Mars was also named after the 12th continent Phobae of Titan. This is the mystical 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes of Ishmael, the 12 signs of the zodiac, under their Olympian deities, Zeus as Jesus, born in the 12th month of the Gregorian calendar, with 12 disciples, who becomes Zeus. I always said the word Jesus came from somewhere with Zeus, but you find out what, and Yahshua to Yahovah. However, some of these disagreeable Anunnakis took residence on it. But it tells you in this book that the real name of Jesus was Tammuz. And you know that Jewish people, they actually, Jewish meaning kind of sort of the converted people, they follow a book called the Talmud. You get it? But they say that they don't believe in Jesus because these words mean stuff. That's why you have to know what you are saying in the real exact translation. But it says, with 12 disciples who become Zeus and Yahshua to Yahovah. However, some of these disagreeable Anunnaki took residence on one of the 3 continents of the planet Rizq, which I'm going to say is Rizq. Because I don't know how to pronounce that word. The continent called Zaratu, they were restricted from visiting the other 2 continents, Darnuria and Kusmusta. Kusmusta. If I pronounced that right, please forgive me. Without a Ritzquian escort, which is Rizqiyin, I probably ain't pronouncing that right, but that's what it said. There was immigration laws set up, however, Ritzquians can visit all 3 continents unescorted. I heard something like this before. Zarantu was under the command of Tarnish, who wanted total control over Ritzq. However, Marduk was chosen by Anu, which means the Most High, to lead the fleets, and this caused a disagreement between Marduk and Tarnish. Anu's decision for Marduk to lead Anu's fleets caused that disagreement between Marduk and Tarnish, which caused a small war and a clash on the planet Rizq, which comes from the word Razaqwa, meaning to provide. Tarnish, also known as Humbaba, attacked the planet Rizq with a shield depleter. Ariel saw a gaseous suspension of fine solid or liquid particles. This substance can today be found in such produce as paint, detergent, or insecticides packaged under pressure with a gaseous propellant for release as a spray of fine particles. Today, the children of the Luciferians are using the same tactics here on Earth to deplete the ozone or shield this planet. The aerosol bomb of Tarnish comes from the root word aerial, or era, simply meaning air, atmosphere, aeroballistics, and a gas, aerosol, from the Greek word for aer, meaning air, and the word sol, meaning soul, like sol, meaning sun. That's where you get solar system, the soul. The soul of the solar system is the sun. That's where the plasma energy, the photon energy comes from, which keeps all life in balance. You get air, O, for omega ending, and soul, sun, just like the destruction of the atmosphere and the sons of Rich Q. This same epidemic is also being done here on Earth. Basically meaning, this is telling you that those chemtrails, the food, they was doing this even back then. So they basically been playing with these chemicals and basically altering the atmosphere. So this clearly tells you right here. On Earth, the aerosol bomb of Tarnish caused the natural atmosphere of Ritz-Q to deplete, meaning be done, depleted. The Ritz-Qians had no protection from the damaging rays of the three suns. And by them sending their nukes up into the atmosphere day in and day out here in test, it breaks a hole in the atmosphere, so you don't get the protection from the radiation. And by the solar flares increasing, it causes the planet and the poles to shift and causes earthquakes, tsunamis, all types of natural disasters. This is where you get that feminine energy, Mother Nature, or Anna Chokma, Mother Wisdom, because the wisdom of the elements is what created this, and the feminine energy is the chaos energy, which is God's judgment, which is his wife. Alright. Took a lot of reading to figure that out too, But when I kept seeing it over and over in different books, a little piece here and there, I already had a feeling, most of the stuff that we gravitate to, it's already in our thoughts, or we just don't come out and openly say it because it sounds so far-fetched. But when you got the proof, you can just say it so openly and without a care, because sources, go read it yourself. Stay till you show yourself approved, Everybody want to debate and be one-sided. I want to be vast countenance. That's how I'm coming. The Ritz-Qians had no protection from the damaging rays of the three suns. The atmosphere was dwindling away, and many Ritz-Qians departed to other galaxies. The rays from the three suns, Utu, Shamash, and Apsu, had put a hole in the ozone layer, as you have now a hole in your ozone layer over Australia, spending daily. So ours is over Australia. So don't be surprised if you see prophetic events and certain things. Matter of fact, we was seeing it. They kept saying like, oh, animals was dying in Australia. There was a lot of things that was pointing to Australia, but this explains why. I don't have all the details to it, but I'm pretty sure you can Google it, Over the years, dead animals, floods, and a lot of stuff going on in the atmosphere over Australia. But it makes sense now. It says, Ritz, the eighth planet, was the heart and source of the tri-solar system, thus was the most affected, as Earth is the heart of this solar system. All three suns have a magnetic pull that causes a tighter and heavier rotation of its planets. The energy field of Ritz-Q was starting to increase, and the hole was starting to lose its color. So the Ritz-Qians needed to build a protection, a dome of gold dust to protect the planet from damaging ultraviolet rays. Gold reflects the sun's rays. Pure gold can easily be beaten or hammered to a thickness of 0.00005 inches and 1.02 ounces, or simply thinner than paper, and can be stretched for more than 60 miles long. It can be made thinner than any metal. This is one of the reasons why gold is very precious metal and is greatly valued by humans, spelled Humims. Just like you get the word woman, meaning a womb man, which meaning she basically the portal to life. It is one of the softest metals, and it is a good conductor of electricity and heat, and it can be easily vaporized better than any metal. Gold is also capable of reflecting intense heat and holds up under any condition. Having this and much more advanced knowledge about pure gold, other metals and minerals, the Ritkewians knew exactly what they were coming for. Gold having existed since the creation of the planet Earth as you know it can be found deep in the Earth's crust, volcanic ash, as well as in the vast oceans of this planet. Anu and the other Elohim, you see, Anu and the other Elohim with an A, knew that the gold of this earth was good long before the birth of man. The Ritkewians had to abort Ritkew and go to Castor/Orion, which is a 6-star, 6 major sun constellation, thus having hundreds of galaxies. The Ritkewians took residence in the planets and star constellations of Mazzaroth, Aish/Arcturus, and Kumu/Pleiades. That's where you get Pleiades, the 7 sisters. Basically, 7. It's always that 7, basically angels, but these are the Most High's celestial creations and beings, We just perceive them to be a certain way. Trust me, these entities are nothing like what they have painted on church walls and which we think angels look like, They come in many different forms. Alright, yeah. 6 major sun constellations, thus having hundreds of galaxies. The Ritkewians took residence in planets and star constellations of Mazzaroth, Aish, Arcturus, and Kumu/Pleiades, making them also temporary homes. Exploration was necessary, thus the grafting of explorers became a necessity. This need gave birth to the Rumardians, later to become known as the Greys. The Greys. These extraterrestrial biological entities, E period B period E apostrophe S, were grafted from, I guess that means extraterrestrial biological entities, basically, were grafted from various extraterrestrial species. They were emotionless and without reproduction capability, so they don't have no emotion. They serve but one purpose, and that is as explorers and worthy servants. Their explorations took them to La Mu, called Mars, and Sheesh Q, called the Moon, where plans for the construction of cylinder crafts called Shams were built. So these cylinder crafts are where you get the triangles, and then you got, no, maybe those are the circle craft, the cylinder, but it's multiple different crafts of the Macabre. You got the triangle ones, you have the circle ones, and they fuel up through the plasma of the sun, And the Most High is probably having me bring this out now because these things are about to transpire. So he's basically giving you an idea of what you're up against, so you're not startled by what these wicked people are telling you on the other side, Because they're about to be removed from the planet, and they're being cast out right now as we speak, What did they say in the Bible? He said they will run to the cliffs of the rocks and tell the rocks to fall on them to hide them from them that cometh from up there. Because basically, they're going to go into their bunkers. They're going to hide in, in the cavities of the earth. And some of these beings actually live in the cavities of the earth. In the inner parts of the earth, Not in outer space, but in inner space. So, there's a lot to it, This took place after the collision with the crafts of the Ninga fleet, also known as the Four Winds. Four Winds. Hold back the four winds. Do not harm the seed of the earth, and to my servants, the elect, or seal. I did a video on that too, about what that secret seal means and how it works. And how you will know who you are by certain things. They transported gold dust to the moon, then to Nibiru, and from there on to the planet's Rich Q. When this job, cylinder-shaped craft, was completed, these beings were given their freedom. They chose Pleiades and Arcturus as their home. Malevolent, Luciferian type reptilians chose to conquer them. So basically, the reptilians actually came after them. So it's a creation, it's a hierarchy of this creation. And enslaved them to perform mining biological experiments, thereby creating hybrids of them, and they use them as explorers to this planet, and they still control some of them to this very day. Those that took their freedom reside in the Canis Major star constellation near Sept, S-E-P-T, also called Sothis, which is Sirius, the dog star, having 2 major and 6 minor suns, Zeta Reticuli, just south of the Orion Belt. Interesting. These Greys sought union with the beings of Earth, having a common enemy, Lucifer, who controls of their empires. As a great warrior, the Ricuians engaged Marduk's services. They needed somebody who was a warrior type to go and seek out the gold and transport it by Nibiru to Ritzku, And Nibiru is known as the 9th planet, 9, completion of the cycle. So when Nibiru returns into this constellation, it's the completion of a cycle. And it also has another sun. That's why people have been seeing 2 suns lately. And it has a geomagnetic pull that causes poles to shift. Is it making any sense to y'all now? Think about that. It's common sense is right here. The Ricuians were beings ambushed by reptilians. All these wars going on in heaven. As above, so below, though. It's about to happen. And at that time, Marduk was a disagreeable Yahwehian, or what you would call a warrior. So he was chosen to lead this mission, which first had to be started by attacking Humbaba. Marduk was given the Tilu weapon, a red beam of light or a light beam ray gun. So these laser beam stuff that you see in Star Wars. This is where it's at. So that's type technology they got up there. From the gemstones, sardius. So the gemstones, why you think in all your electronic devices they have crystals and all this other stuff that make these mechanisms work? From the gemstone sardius, a laser that was created by his grandfather and knew to stop Tarnish in his disagreeable ways. He succeeded in his mission. Remember in 1959 when they said unidentified craft came to the base when they was about to test a nuclear bomb and sent a beam out and shut their whole nuclear plant down? Think about that. Cylinder-shaped crafts 30 to 60 miles in size. This is how big these crafts are. 30 to 60 miles in size. So when they far away, they look small, but let them come hover over you. They'll cover a couple blocks. But they have smaller crafts that come out of those big mothership crafts. Look up what the Macabre is. That's why you see these triangles, you see these stones. That's why you see that stone over there in Mecca, because it refers to the Macabre. they had androids called Robotoids. That's why we got phones called androids now today, called Robotoids, that would scout out the minerals of the planet controlled by the Rumardians. So Baba and his followers who supported him, which was 1/3 of the Ritzku, were cast out and was never to return there. Baba had taken residence in the planet Titan, which is considered a moon of Saturn, with a breed of reptilian beings. The largest of Saturn's known satellites is Titan. So, remember in October 2017, they said this mysterious space rock Oumuamua pop up in the atmosphere. That is an angelic biosatellite. They're always coming. They're all out here. They're just not going to tell you that. That's why that was in the 10th month of 2007. That's why I said the Great Tribulation started in 2017. The Revelation 12 constellation started in, I believe it was September 23rd-ish. That's when that constellation happened. And then in August of 2017, that's when you have your whole the eclipse of the sun. Which 7 years after that, there will be another eclipse over America, which creates an X. This is not a coincidence, y'all. And then you got the 1619 project. And then 2019, they signed the H.R. 40 bill in the act of African Americans being in this land for 400 years. All within this same timeline. And then you know what Genesis 14 said about the 400 years. But after that, they will leave with great substance. So this is where it's going to get tricky for a lot of people. Atmos, yeah. Alright. Known satellites in Titan. The diameter of Titan, including its atmosphere, is 3,400 miles. This satellite is in your solar